I started judo when I was 7. My brother started judo, my big brother. I always looked up to him, as most younger brothers do. He dropped off when he was about 10 and I carried on. At about 15 I was number 2 in Great Britain, I think, competing on the British team, and really that was, when I was getting towards school leaving age, and everyone says, what are you going to do when you're older? And I was sure in my mind, I'm going to go to the Olympics, that's my path and that's what I'm aiming for. I started competing for Britain at about the age of 12, 13. I kind of fell into being selected for the national championships. I didn't expect to, but I did. And I went along not really having much of an expectation of achieving anything, but I came away with a silver medal, and that put me on the British team, the junior squad. And it was, in one sense, a great experience for any 13-year-old to be going abroad. But on the other hand, as a teenager, when your friends are going to parties and doing various things, I felt that I was losing out of growing up as a teenager. But on the other hand, I felt that I was gaining more than a lot of the other kids were. When I was about 18, 19, I was then on the under-21 Britain squad, and that was a bit more moving into serious stuff. I was training with the senior squad and training with Olympians, and I competed in the European Championships when I was 19. I guess that year was my most successful year. I'd taken places in some pretty big tournaments in Europe, and I guess my career felt like it was going somewhere at that point. Not a lot really. I mean, there were girlfriends and there was a social life, but that always came second. I mean, my life really was judo. I trained full time as soon as I left school. I got to the place where I trained at 10 o'clock in the morning, and we trained throughout the day, and then at sort of 5, 6 o'clock we'd travel somewhere in the evening. I found myself 20 years old, supporting myself, well, being supported by my mum as well. And I had to work full time just to pay rent, pay travelling expenses, etc. I think I just got more and more fed up with it. I kind of felt, why am I sacrificing my life for something that might not pay back? I might end up 30 with no medal around my neck and no life experience or job prospects, as friends of mine did. Massively, yeah. I think when I left judo, I suddenly didn't have the confinements, the discipline of having to watch what I ate all the time and live a healthy lifestyle and be regimented. I had all this time on my hands and freedom, and I felt like I had lost time to catch up for. A lot of my friends who were into martial arts, judo and other martial arts, worked on the doors in nightclubs, and it was an easy job to get. I actually started working on the doors when I was 18, when I was still competing, because it was quite a handy job to have. It suited my lifestyle quite well, and then obviously when I stopped doing judo, that kind of job became more and more, I became more dependent on it. I did have other day jobs, but that was really what I did for a long time. Yeah, I guess I had identity struggles, as well as depression and other such things. I found that not having a relationship with my father when I was younger, I didn't know him, was becoming more of an issue. It was something that my father died when I was 14, I think, and having not known him, that kind of left a big void in my life. My life started to crumble a little bit, and that became more of an issue, and feeling a sense of a lack of identity, you try and find it in other areas, and at that time I started finding it with the guys I was mixing with, working on the doors, and drinking and drugs, things like that, and you get sucked into that lifestyle and think that you're actually somebody, because people show you respect. Well, I'd known Jess for a long time as a friend, and we were both in similar boats. We got together 2.5 years ago now. We started dating. Both of us were probably, in some regards, pretty broken. I think she felt that she wasn't ready to change the life that she was living in order to be a follower of Jesus, and I think that's where we were both a little bit badly educated, because certainly myself, when we did start believing, I held back for a long time thinking that I need to change myself before I go to church, before I call myself a Christian. Yeah, she was probably, I'd say, the first real Christian I'd come across and fully engaged with. Meeting Jess's mum was quite a shock to me because, you know, she would be offended by me saying that she was religious. A message of this guy Jesus who died for us and who loves us and who knows us was preached to us, and I realised actually, you know, you don't have to be perfect. In fact, far from it. You know, you come as you are, and we're all broken. I guess that just started a change within my heart. I felt that my heart was softening, and I just found that I wanted to know more. And I wouldn't say that was the point. A lot of people say this was the moment where I became a Christian. That I don't think was the point for me by a long shot, but that was certainly the start of a process where I started to have a hunger to know more. We went to the Kensington service, and I started to see the cross for what it was, and not just a story that was told at Sunday school or when we were kids. And we just felt God change in our hearts. You know, there were things that we did without a second thought before, and all of a sudden we just didn't want to do it. And we went to meet Rob and Carol Parker at their house, and we had a good discussion. And Rob asked me very directly, he said, if you were to die now, where would you go? And I felt that I would be a little bit arrogant to say heaven, because I thought, well, I haven't done enough to earn God's favour, you know. And he quickly corrected me and said, actually, you know, Jesus has done it all for you, and if you believe, then you'll go into heaven, you know. And it really just hit me, you know, I don't have to do anything, Jesus has done it all for me. It's funny because on a daily basis you can quite easily get disheartened and think, I'm still not there, I'm still, you know, trying, but I'm falling back. But then I look back 2 years ago, 3 years ago to who I was, and I don't recognise that person anymore. And my friends who aren't Christians and my family members, they can't believe it. I mean, my relationship with my mother was quite difficult a few years ago, mainly because of the way I was, and she's over the moon every time she sees me now because she sees her son happy and fulfilled. No, I think, to be honest, I was a wimp before. When I worked on the doors, I was a big, hard, angry man, but really I was hiding. I was running away from who I was, and I was scared constantly. And I guess a lot of people who live in that environment are the same. I was very fearful. I don't fear anything now, you know. I know who's looking after me, and I know where I'm going. And I think wimpish, it doesn't come into it. I think courage and strength comes from knowing Jesus. And yeah, it's hard to really put it into words, but no, certainly I wouldn't say it's wimpish.